Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stoic Compass. I'm Jim.
And I'm Ellie. Today we're diving into something that might surprise you, what the Squid Game can teach us about Stoic philosophy.
Before we jump in, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you're enjoying the show. It really helps us out.
Thanks so much.
Now, I have to admit, when you first suggested we talk about Squid Game and Stoicism, I was scratching my head a bit.
I get that. On the surface, a brutal survival game doesn't seem very philosophical.
Right, but you found this fascinating article by Konstantin Pavliouts.
Exactly. It's from the Blackwell Philosophy and Pop Culture series, and it's called A Stoic Wouldn't Play the Squid Game.
Now that's a bold statement.
It really is. And Pavliouts makes a compelling case for why someone practicing Stoicism would never enter that game in the first place.
Interesting. So for anyone who hasn't seen the show, can you give us the basic setup?
Sure. Squid Game is about people drowning in debt who are offered the chance to play childhood games for massive prize money.
Sounds innocent enough so far.
Here's the catch. If you lose, you die. It's a survival game with 456 players competing for about 46.5 billion won.
Whoa, that's quite the stakes.
Right. And what makes it even more disturbing is that the game creator, the old man, explains it was all created for entertainment.
Entertainment?
Yeah. He says wealthy people get bored because nothing matters when you have unlimited money. So they created this game to feel something again.
That's pretty dark. But I can see how this connects to Stoicism. The wealthy characters are seeking fulfillment in all the wrong places.
Exactly. From a Stoic perspective, they're chasing external goods for happiness instead of finding it within themselves.
Right. So let's get to the heart of it. Why wouldn't a Stoic play this game?
Well, Pavliouts points to Epictetus's teaching about proper desire and aversion. Stoics learn to desire only what's completely under our control.
Which would be our thoughts and actions.
Exactly. But most people desire wealth, health, status, things we can't fully control.
So the characters in Squid Game are essentially chasing something external to solve their internal problems.
That's it. They think winning money will fix their lives, but they're putting their fate in the hands of luck and games they can't control.
Now, to be fair, these characters are in some pretty desperate situations. The main character is drowning in gambling debt.
True. And Pavliouts acknowledges this. He even mentions that the show reflects a real debt crisis in South Korea.
So, we're not talking about people who are just being greedy. These are people facing genuine hardship.
Absolutely. But here's where Epictetus's own story becomes really powerful.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
Epictetus was a slave. He wasn't some privileged philosopher. He also had a disabled leg, probably broken by his master.
Wow, so he knew real suffering.
Exactly. And despite this, he wrote something really profound. He said, sickness is a hindrance to the body, but not to your ability to choose.
That's powerful.
Right. And Pavliouts applies this to the Squid Game characters. He says debt is a hindrance to something else, but not to yourself.
So even in desperate circumstances, we still have the power to choose our response.
That's the core Stoic teaching. Yes, the society might be unjust, the game might be immoral, but you don't have to be unjust and immoral yourself.
I love that distinction. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control what happens in us.
Exactly. And this is where the article gets really interesting. Pavliouts imagines a thought experiment.
Okay, I'm listening.
He says, imagine you're in debt and have three options: commit suicide, sell your kidney to debt collectors, or play the Squid Game.
Those are some pretty grim choices.
Right. But he walks through what a Stoic would do. First, they wouldn't play the game because it depends on luck.
Makes sense. You can't control whether you'll win or lose.
Exactly. As for suicide, while Stoics believed it could be rational in extreme circumstances, debt probably wouldn't qualify.
So that leaves selling the kidney.
Right. It's the one choice that's entirely up to you. It clears the debt and lets you live according to reason and virtue.
That's a hard choice, but I can see the logic. You're taking control of what you can control.
And here's what I find really beautiful about Pavliouts' analysis. He suggests that making this difficult choice might actually be liberating.
How so?
It could be the wake-up call that shows you what really matters in life. The peace and serenity that come with controlling your own mind.
So sometimes our greatest challenges can become our greatest teachers.
Exactly. Instead of being trapped by circumstances, you realize your true freedom comes from within.
You know, there's another angle here that I think is worth exploring. What about the wealthy characters who created the game?
Oh, that's a great point. They're actually a perfect example of what Stoics warn against.
How so?
They have unlimited external goods, money, power, luxury, but they're miserable because they haven't developed internal virtue.
Right. The old man literally says everything became boring because nothing mattered anymore.
Exactly. They're seeking meaning and excitement in all the wrong places. A Stoic would find fulfillment in wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
So in a way, both the poor and the rich characters are making the same mistake.
That's brilliant, Jim. They're both looking for salvation in external things instead of developing internal strength.
And this connects to something Epictetus said, right? About rich and poor people?
Yes. He said these reasonings don't cohere. I am richer than you, therefore I am better than you.
So wealth doesn't make you good or bad. It's your character that matters.
Exactly. A rich person and a poor person can be equally virtuous or equally lost.
This is making me think about Marcus Aurelius. He was literally the most powerful person in the world, but he found meaning in philosophy, not power.
Perfect example. And Pavliouts actually quotes Marcus Aurelius in the article. He talks about finding delight in the virtues of others.
That's so different from the Squid Game creators who find entertainment in others' suffering.
Absolutely. Marcus Aurelius looked for examples of virtue to inspire him. The game creators look for desperation to entertain them.
So let's get practical here. What can we learn from this for our own lives?
Well, first, we can ask ourselves, what are we really seeking when we chase external goals?
That's a good question. Are we looking for security, status, validation?
Right. And then we can ask, could I find those things through developing virtue instead?
So instead of chasing the promotion for status, maybe I focus on doing excellent work because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly. You're finding meaning in the process, not just the outcome.
And what about when we face our own Squid Game moments? Those times when we're really tempted to compromise our values.
That's when we remember Epictetus's teaching. We have a choice. Always.
Even when the circumstances are really difficult.
Especially then. That's when our character is truly tested. It's easy to be virtuous when everything's going well.
So the real question isn't, what can I get, but who can I become?
Beautiful way to put it, Jim. And that's something no one can take away from you.
You know, there's something else that strikes me about this. The Squid Game is supposedly about choice, but it's really about desperation.
That's a great observation. True choice requires wisdom and self-control.
Right. When you're desperate, you're not really choosing freely. You're just reacting.
Exactly. And that's why Stoic training is so important. It prepares you to make real choices even under pressure.
So how do we build that kind of strength before we need it?
Daily practice, small choices that align with virtue. Like Marcus Aurelius said, we need role models and examples.
And even negative examples can teach us, like the characters in Squid Game.
Absolutely. We can look at their choices and ask, what would I do differently? How would virtue guide me?
This reminds me of something we've talked about before. The idea that philosophy isn't just intellectual exercise.
Right. Stoicism is meant to be lived, not just studied.
And shows like Squid Game, as dark as they are, can be mirrors that help us see ourselves more clearly.
Exactly. They force us to confront difficult questions about what we value and what we're willing to sacrifice.
So let's end with this. If you found yourself in desperate circumstances, what would you want to remember?
That your circumstances don't define you, your choices do, and you always have the power to choose virtue.
Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.
That's when virtue matters most. Anyone can be good when it's easy.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into some pretty dark material, but I think we've found some real light in it.
Absolutely. Thanks to Konstantin Pavliouts for such a thought-provoking article. It really shows how ancient wisdom can illuminate modern stories.
And remember, you don't have to wait for extreme circumstances to practice these principles. Start with small choices today.
Every moment is a chance to choose virtue over convenience, courage over comfort, wisdom over impulse.
Thanks for joining us on the Stoic Compass. Until next time, remember, you always have a choice.
Make it a virtuous one.